Season 7, Episode 16, Campfire Tales.
So first thing I want to say, thanks. Making spiders that can fly. That's every arachnophobia dream come true.
Yeah,
as I had after my camping trip, I totally understood what they were going through. They weren't spiders, and I don't mind spiders, but holy crap, horseflies are the worst things.
Mm-hmm. They are terrible. But yeah, and then spiders alone, fine. Leave them alone. You leave them alone, they'll leave you alone, and they'll catch bugs. That's why I leave them alone. But for an arachnophobe, that's gotta be absolutely terrifying and making them reconsider whether they'd actually ever want to be in Equestria, given that those exist.
Yeah.
Though we are given this little bit of lore that they do usually live around the Luna Bay area, and they usually aren't that far east. So as long as you stay out of Luna Bay area and you don't go near Winsome Falls, you're unlikely to ever see. Well, even Winsome Falls, you're not likely to see them there, but you might see them there apparently. But yeah. So yeah, blighters, kill it with fire. If they just acted like flying spiders, just spiders with wings, just like they were acted more like spiders with wings than flies with spider bodies.
Yeah, that wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, because that means they can catch bugs on the fly, and they don't want anything to do with me. Yeah, they want nothing to do with me. So I was like, okay, hey, spider, I'm going by and go catch some horseflies.
Spiders would be cool. It's just spider crossbred with horseflies is I want to kill them all.
Yes, if they weren't biting insects, they carried more spider than fly, then yes, that would be actually quite cool, because that means they're better at catching flies. When they're better at catching flies, that's good by me. I would rather have 10 spiders than one fly, because spiders leave you alone. Flies bug you. Anyway, sorry. So getting back to the beginning, the sisters of the CMC are taking them out to Winsome Falls, which is an annual trip now. This is the second annual trip, which means that there's been 1 year since Sleepless in Ponyville from about mid-season 3. So, let's see. Mid-season 3 was the one where we got Princess Twilight at the end. So Twilight's been a princess now for a little over a year. I have to double check that. But I think was it the finale to season 3 was her princessing? If that's the case, then yeah, we've had Princess Twilight for a little over a year in canon. Quick check. Yep, Magical Mystery Cure was the end of season 3, and Sleepless in Ponyville was about mid-season 3, so not much more than a year has passed since her coronation. So take that for what you will. We already brought along some Asian-style lanterns for the trip, as well as only 3 suitcases this time.
That's impressive for rarity.
It is
quite a bit of restraint.
And since I had been watching Spaceballs, that scene just made me think of it with the giant hairdryer.
But where she kept all those lanterns, I don't know. But Yeah. Dash nearly eats some toxic berries, but Skittish Scoot stops her. And apparently she's still quite scared of the woods. At this point, the six settle down for a meal when they are attacked by biting flying cook spiders. Okay, I already covered the flighters. Covered that. So they run into a cave to avoid the flighters.
And then the flighters covered everything else.
And yeah, and apparently Applerod is a mild curse for apple ponies.
Yeah.
Which you can understand.
Especially if they're farmer ponies.
Yeah, especially apples. Yeah, they would not like apple rot.
And you know, I would love if my bug bites disappeared as fast as theirs did.
I know. Although horseflies, the bites don't leave marks very long. It hurts like a beesh and itches, but then it goes away rather quickly.
Oh, I know. Although here they're not called horseflies, they're called deer flies.
Oh dear.
They're still asses though.
They are.
Anyway, so they settle in to tell some legends while hiding in a cave from the bugs. And we get to our first legend. We get some, and so with these three stories, we do get some kind of semi-lore. And they're legends, but they're semi-lore. They can form a sort of culture. So Tale of Rockhoof, it's AJ's tale. It's a Nordic sort of culture set next to a volcano. Interesting that a family of redheads and blondes has a Nordic style story to tell. So we find out the mighty Helm group protected the city, but excluded wouldn't let poor Rockhoof join in any of their mighty Helm games.
The reindeer games for Rudolph. Oh
no, they're horses. They're horses. They're not reindeer.
Wrong show.
Yes, because he was Bjorne Bonne. One day, while digging for an outhouse, it looked like the volcano erupted. The mighty Helm, trying to be completely sensible, tried to convince them to do the sensible thing and evacuate. To get out of the way of the lava, which you couldn't do anything about as far as they were aware of. So we can't do anything about the...
What about all of the ash and toxic fumes that would have covered them even if the lava didn't hit?
Yeah, you're going a step further than you need to prove how silly these ponies are. But the villagers, I want to stay because I got nowhere else to go. It's like, you're not going to be able to go anywhere if you stay because you'll be dead.
Well, I mean, the people in Pompeii seemed happy.
Not really. They're just frozen in ash like that. If they are. If you manage to find one happy face in that group.
Yeah, they were probably all terror.
Yeah. Let's see. Rockhoof, being the determined but little rock-headed, tried to divert the lava by digging a ditch. Then, if this magic hadn't come over him and made him suddenly bigger and stronger and allowed him to dig the ditch with impossible speed, he would have been caught in his little ditch and burned alive by lava.
Roasted pony.
So, yes, not the brightest, in the bunch right here. So, so since he became, not puny pony, he then joined the mighty Helm, because he was now big enough to. He was quite strong. I didn't
Remember, kids, steroids are everything.
No. I think the moral of the story is hard work pays off.
Instantly, it seems.
Yeah. Well, in perseverance, though, it's
Just
so it's there's
kids do not take that as let's go dig ditches in front of lava streams.
Yes, because that's quite stupid. Perseverance, okay. Perseverance in the face of adversity, okay. But there's a point where you go, all right, this isn't gonna help anymore. I can't do that. I can't. There's no way to do that. There's literally no way to do that. So, how about I just not? Rocco's cutie mark, if you're interested, was a triceps. The triceps was used into the Middle Ages as a magical sign of protection. The Othala rune signifies the home and one's ancestors. And the story embodies perseverance. Stepping out of the story, to our kind of overarching plot, the camp at this point is destroyed. At this point, Rarity encourages Sweetie Belle to enjoy the hidden beauty of the cave, from gold flecks in the walls to the dance of shadow. Meanwhile, Rarity does things with shadow boats that shouldn't be possible with hooves.
That is very talented, yes, for not having hands.
Yes, including what looks like a Twilerina.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like, hey, it's Return of Ballerina Twilight.
Yeah, which they probably just like, okay, well, we've already got these mocked up for a royal problem, or whatever was the Luna Celestia episode this season. Like, oh, right, we've already got a Twilight ballerina mocked up. We just cast it to shadow, and boom, we're done.
And then you got Twilight later on. Hey, Rarity, I heard what you did, and you do realize I have a copyright on that, so we'll fork over the cash.
I think that she's got enough. She probably has. You've seen Spaceballs. All I can hear is Yogurt going, with Twilight. With she probably has some merchandise. So it's just merchandising. Twilight wings, Twilight horns, Twilight cutie mark patches.
Oh, there's another picture that needs to be drawn.
Twilight Spaceballs.
Yep. Merchandise.
Yeah. Well, the caption would need to start with where Twilight gets all this money. Merchandising. Twilight Sparkle the cereal. Twilight Sparkle the flamethrower.
Yes.
When you need to toast marshmallows with your friends, trying desperately to shoehorn this into some sort of friendship thing. Enjoy the cereal with your friends. Whatever.
With extra sparkles.
Well, I mean, if it's the first edition of the product, it would always have exactly the amount of sparkles. I'm getting nitpicky. Let's move on to Mistbane. Mistbane by Rarity. This one's an Asian type of culture with unicorns with curved horns, which we haven't seen. We see them every once in a while, but I don't know what that's supposed to
Yeah, I
be.
was thinking holy shades of what's his name? Sombra.
Yeah, maybe it was an older style, and that that
It looks more
eventually.
Asian to me. It looked more Oriental.
Yeah, that was the whole idea. Was it was supposed to be? I think it was supposed to be Asian culture,
Mm-hmm.
which it's. I guess the curved horn unicorns have more of an Asian culture to them, and the kind of more straight horned ones are more.
Western.
They tend to be more English or French in terms of their style, whereas like Earth ponies tend to have more kind of Midwestern or Southern American kind of style to them. Generally, there are exceptions, of course, but they tend to have more of an American or Midwestern style to them. And then the Pegasi have all the kind of Roman look to them, which we'll get back to in a minute. But yeah, I guess the curved horn unicorns, those are more kind of an Asian inspiration, and the straight horns are more of a because. But then again, Rarity had lanterns, so is that a culture of unicorns as well? Was like, are they, you know, are they not only this kind of French British sort of culture, this kind of Western Europe sort of thing, or are they, are they these Asian culture as well? You know, where does that go to? I know they probably don't want to get too much into that because it's it's going into okay, if they represent this and they represent that, and then you start getting into all sorts of stereotypes, and it's just not good for business and not good for storytelling. But perhaps the ancient unicorns came from an Asian style thing, and they kept some of it, but they adapted into more of a French style.
Yes.
I don't know. Anyway, so Miss Maine's beautiful unicorn, who was kind, went off to learn sophisticated magic at one of the best schools in the kingdom or whatever. Found out her friend had become empress.
Good for her.
Yeah, that was probably what was going through Miss Maine's mind at the time. And Sable's spirit took everything beautiful for herself and forced the villagers to put all their efforts into her palace. Turns out Sable was jealous of Miss Main and tried to beautify herself with a spell, but it backfired and made her butt ugly. Thus she then took power by force. Miss Main vows to stop her. A fight ensues. It's very Jedi versus Sith.
Pew 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 pew.
Well, it's more.
Vroom, vroom, pew, vroom, pew.
There's no pewing.
I mean, the dragons were kind of pewy.
I wouldn't call them pewy. Pew's not a word. Pew's not a word. What the heck? Miss Main uses a blue dragon in calm movements, while Sable uses a red and more aggressive style. Miss Main defeats her and binds her with a plant. At this point, the guards cheered because apparently she was a jerk. At this point, Miss Main gave up her own beauty to restore the village and Sable. This touched Sable and changed her to a kind and compassionate ruler, emulating Miss Main where it truly counted in her beauty, where she had before tried to emulate her outward beauty. Stories about generosity and bringing kindness and beauty to others. What a shock from Rarity.
Oh my, I totally didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Which would have been interesting if AJ stories had something to do with honesty, like a parable on honesty would be interesting. That would have been a cool way of doing this, considering the way Rarity and Dash's ones went out. So the flighters start to move in on the group in the cave, and Dash collapses the entrance to keep them from getting in. But that freaks out Scootaloo, and they're also burning a campfire in what appears to be a sealed room.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. The nice way of getting carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yes. So yes.
Yeah, that more of the cave seemed to appear from nowhere.
Well, yeah, if there was a chimney nearby, okay. If there was like not chimney, but like the rock equivalent of a chimney, some little hole up through the roof nearby, and we couldn't see or something. Okay, it was.
And besides, it's not like the rocks like blocked out all the air. It's probably like some tiny cracks where air could squeeze through.
But it's still gonna stack up with, again, carbon monoxide. It's not gonna exchange that well. But it's still, kids, don't light fires in a closed space.
Yeah.
Okay. And that freaks out Scoots. Just a little. She's already skittish as can be, and you've just made her more skittish. And Dash proceeds to make it worse for a second by talking about scary dragons. Not like Spike. So we get Flash Magnus by Dash. Roman style outfits that go well with the consistent theme the Pegasi have had of kind of this Roman feel to everything. Anything classic Pegasi is almost always some form of Roman or Greco-Roman style to it. So he's a cadet in the Royal Legion. The Legion was crossing over Dragonlands to get to their comrades on the other side. So if you ever wonder, why did the Pegasi cross the Dragonlands? That was... oh yeah. Chicken joke. Anyway, so the dragons attacked and captured some of the ponies. They couldn't outfight them, so they were trying to outthink them. Seems to suggest that all dragons are dumb. That's a little racist, Dash.
But everyone's a little bit racist. It's true.
But anyway, especially considering we just had, was it last week? We just had a perfectly cogent and understanding, I'm sure it's cogent, right? But we had just had Ember last week giving, perfectly reasonable advice in, being perfectly sensible about things.
Okay, fine. It's not that dragons are dumb. It's just that the bigger they are, the dumber they are.
Well, that seems to be somewhat of the case.
It could be that they all have the same cranial capacity, but due to their increased size, they have less capacity for intellectual thought because their brains are using more energy to move the body.
That's a theory. So, Flash, which also Flash Magnus makes me wonder, was Flash Sentry named after Flash Magnus? And if so, is he a descendant? I mean, it's an old enough legend that you probably can't tell, but, yeah, anyway. So Flash offers to draw the dragons away while the rest rescue their comrades. He's given the fireproof shield. What? Yeah,
I said that surprisingly hasn't been eaten yet.
Yeah. He is given the fireproof shield, Titus, to protect him. Doesn't seem to be a corresponding mythical item I found in a very, very cursory search with that name, but Titus was simply a common name in Rome. So Flash got the dragons off of him by leading them into a thunderstorm trap. After, distracting them, they recovered their people and their ponies, and then they flew into a thunderstorm, and that, apparently dragons are weak to lightning. Let's see. And at that point, the dragons retreated. The theme of the story is bravery and service to others. In a word, loyalty. At this point, we have finished our stories. The flighters have left, but it's still too dangerous to try and clear the rock slide Dash made. They must face the long dark of Moria, of the cave. Dash smashed the rocks a little greedily and too deeply. But turns out it was a shortcut to the falls anyway, so...
Wonder if they'd use it in the future if they managed to clear it out.
Yeah, they'd have to clear up the rocks. And if they were falling into the thing, maybe if they kicked it from the outside, it would break them up and they would fall into the cave, in which case you could just kind of sweep them aside. Knock enough of them apart and sweep them aside, and you could have a nice little extra path to win some falls, and you wouldn't have to do anything. You wouldn't have to go quite as far. Rarity gives the girls a Snapchat filter. Flower crown. Anyway, girls had lots of fun, and then they immediately set out to build new shelter and gather good berries to eat, to camp at the falls. Which is nice to see that they are unperturbed by the situation, and they're just like, hey, we got to the other side, we got to what we wanted to do anyway, let's make the most of it. And that's Campfire Tales.
So see, I thought of some pictures of that one. So you got the merchandise one for Twilight. There should also be a one where Luna comes back and she's like, "Calm the shit down, Scootaloo. We've already been through this."
Now remember our lesson from, was it last week or the week before last, with the fandom episode? Just one episode isn't going to, just one attempt at getting over something is not going to get you over it. Example, Fluttershy.
Also in that one, Pony was telling Flash, like, I hope the shield protects your flank or something like that. Just imagine a picture of him having it cover his ass and just flying breakneck speed with a bunch of dragons blowing fire.
Yeah. Let's see. Anyway, so, overall thoughts, it's alright. It was good to see some lore, and it was fun to have it was kind of a nice breather episode. There was nothing big at stake. We got some fun stories out of it, and, other than AJ, they really fit with their character pretty well. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't bad. Low stakes, lots of fun. Yeah. And we got a little bit of high fantasy here and there. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Nice. I think it was just a story dump. Like, hey, we have all these stories. Let's just put them in one episode.
None of them are long enough.
They're too short to kill. So dump them.
Yep. All right. Then I guess that's it. Boop.
Yep.